I had zero intention of recording a video today, but after I just watched Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and JD Vance and Mike Johnson and John Thune walk out of the White House from their meeting with President Trump, it has become abundantly clear to me what is going on with the government shutdown, and I just really needed to get this off my chest because it's been driving me crazy. After the last time we had a conversation around a government shutdown, I think it was in March, when 7 Democrats in the Senate voted with Republicans to cloture so they could pass the CR, I was extremely pissed. A lot of people were extremely pissed at Chuck Schumer because they felt like he just caved and gave Republicans exactly what they wanted. So that's where we're at now, where Senate Republicans have to have Democrats on board to vote for cloture to get this bill to a simple majority vote, or else they're not going to be able to pass the CR. I want to remind you, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So even though they need some Democratic votes to pass the CR, to cloture the CR in the Senate, it's still incumbent on Republicans to go to the negotiating table to get the Democrats' votes to do this. The Democrats don't owe the Republicans any kind of vote, especially when they have a demand. Their demand, we want to continue these subsidies. These are subsidies that help working class people access healthcare. And if they go away, everyone's healthcare is going to go up. That's what Democrats' one big negotiating tool was, these ACA subsidies. And Republicans said, absolutely not. Remember, Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer asked for a meeting with Trump last week, and Trump said sure, and then he canceled the meeting. So the fact that they had this meeting again is interesting. And it shows me that they're starting to see some of the same polling that I was starting to see. And the polling says, basically, if the government shuts down, people are going to blame Republicans because Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. So I believe they saw this polling, they agreed to this meeting, and they went into this. I want us to look at some of the footage of them coming out of this, because I think it's insane.
We laid out to the president some of the consequences of what's happening in healthcare. And by his face and by the way he looked, I think he heard about them for the first time. The closing of rural hospitals. The fact that so many clinics are closing. And I don't know if he knew this before, but the fact that people will pay $4,000 more a year, $400 more a month, close to $5,000 more a year on their healthcare premiums if we don't do anything.
I was curious about whether or not this was true, and when I heard Chuck Schumer say this, it reminded me a lot of how when the Supreme Court ruled that the U.S. had to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia back from El Salvador, we saw Stephen Miller on camera tell Donald Trump that the Supreme Court had sided with him, when in reality, the Supreme Court had not sided with him. The Supreme Court sided against the Trump administration. And so this reminded me of that. And I think it was confirmed to me when we see JD Vance and them come out.
And the Speaker of the House and Leader Thune. Let's
We have
listen.
disagreements about
Have a negotiation. This is the Vice President and the Speaker of the House and Leader Thune. Let's
We have
listen.
disagreements about tax policy, but you don't shut the government down. We have disagreements about healthcare policy, but you don't shut the government down. You don't use your policy disagreements as leverage
First of all, Donald Trump shut the government down in 2018 because Congress wouldn't give him a blank check for border wall funding. So first of all, you're a hypocrite because your boss has already shut down the government over a political disagreement. Second of all, this isn't just a random political disagreement. This is the fact that Democrats' negotiating tool here are affordable health care, ACA subsidies that legitimately lower the cost of health care for everyone. For everyone. So we're not just talking about a political difference here. Second of all, the fact that JD Vance is coming out in the front of this conversation tells me that they know, public perception-wise, they are on the losing side of this issue. Whenever you see JD Vance at the forefront of a conversation that has also included Donald Trump, Republicans are not doing as well as they want to on that issue. That is the role of the vice president. When the administration doesn't want the president to take a hit on something, they don't want the president's popularity rating to take a hit on something, they trot out the vice president. And that's what they're doing with JD Vance right here. And also, you can see in this too, Mike Johnson looks pissed. Mike Johnson looks pissed. John Thune is in the back over here cowering. I mean, let's see some leadership from the men who were doing the negotiations. If you're gonna have negotiations about keeping the government open, you actually have to have negotiations about keeping the government open. This is how the Senate works. And JD Vance should know that because JD Vance was a senator for like a month before he was picked to be vice president because Peter Thiel wanted him to be. Okay, so here we have JD Vance is responding to what Chuck Schumer said about Trump finding this out for the first time.
Senator Schumer said that there were aspects about healthcare ending for certain people that the president was learning about for the first time in that meeting. And was the
First of all, you note over here, first of all, you can't see John Thune. John Thune is just in the background hiding. But you'll know over here, Mike Johnson is just over here shaking his head.
healthcare ending for certain people that the president was learning about for the first time in that meeting? And was the president open to a deal on the ACA subsidies?
The president was learning about it for the first time, thanks to Chuck Schumer. But what I will say is, look, we have put a $50 billion rural hospital fund into the big beautiful
Deflection. Complete deflection. How easy would it have been for him to say right here, no, the president knew everything about this conversation. He knew all of the negotiating factors going into this conversation. Of course, this isn't the first time the president is hearing about this policy that will affect tens of millions of Americans. He didn't say that. He immediately deflected, which to me, between his response, between his tone and body language, between Jeffrey and Schumer's tone and body language, and the fact that Mike Johnson is over here shaking his head and John Thune is hiding in the background like a little schoolgirl, I guarantee you that this was the first time anyone had told Donald Trump to his face that the healthcare premiums were going to go up. And as stupid as I think Donald Trump is as it comes to policy, I think that Donald Trump is informed enough to understand that healthcare premiums going up for anyone is bad politics. It is bad politics, it's bad for elections, and it's bad for the controlling party of the government, period.
bill.
But costs aren't going down in the United States of America. Costs are going up. Inflation is going up. America is too expensive. And Democrats are fighting to address the Affordable Care Act issue and the Republican health care crisis because we believe that we need to make this country more affordable. And the reality...
The thing that really sucks for Republicans is that when you look at the polling, let me see if I can find this. The thing that really sucks for Republicans is when you look at this graph, first of all, terrible for Democrats. It shows that we have a lot of work to do when it comes to catching up on things like crime and immigration and the economy and earning trust from voters. The problem for the Republicans is that for the last two decades, healthcare consistently is the issue that voters trust Democrats often the most consistently to handle. So when Democrats start talking about healthcare, people actually listen. Why? Because Democrats actually have consistent, strong healthcare policy. We might disagree on how to go about that. Some people believe in a single payer system. Some people believe in a public option. But the reality is that it was Barack Obama, it was a Democratic president that got the Affordable Care Act passed into law, and it has become one of the most popular policies in recent American history. And so when Democrats start talking about healthcare and waving a flag around healthcare saying, hey, you need to pay attention to this, people start listening. And Republicans know that. They know that. They know that they are in charge of the government. They know that the country knows they're in charge of the government. And so as long as Democrats, honestly, as long as Democrats consistently say, we want people to have healthcare, the Republicans are in charge of the government, and that's it. Don't get into the weeds. Don't get into the disagreements. Keep it on that. People will accurately hold the Republican Party accountable on this. They have the ball. It's in their court. The Republicans control all of this. I am eagerly awaiting information about what Republicans, specifically, what Donald Trump is going to say about this, because I genuinely believe that he knows now that these premiums are going to increase and that this was his first time finding out about it. I don't think yet in this administration we have seen Republican leadership specifically this publicly rattled about anything. They looked rattled. They looked like they were not in control of the conversation, and I think that that's a good thing. I think we need to see more of that. I will hopefully be back with another video like this week. Maybe covering a shutdown and what that means. So stay tuned. Make sure that you are subscribed, oliviajuliana.co.